Good evening, YouTube. So, tonight I'm going to be introducing another early sculpture uh, called Adorable the Swamp Queen's Steed. So, first I thought about reading the story before showing the sculpture, and then I decided that might bore people's uh, regularly programmed attention spans. So I'm going to maybe do a different presentation of this sculpture in the future, um, as far as just how to present it. But for tonight, I'm going to switch over to the other studio screen and read off various descriptions of the piece and let you in on it. So this is an early piece that is actually the first large scale sculpture in this style that I did back in, I think, 2014, maybe 15. But the original family, I call them about 12 or 13 small desktop sculptures, anywhere from 3 inches tall to uh, maybe 8, 9 inches tall, all also in bronze. And those I'll be sharing after uh, one more piece after this, the Swamp Queen. Um, we have Eleonora, the connoisseur of cantankerous trolls, is coming up after this piece. And for archival reasons, I'm going backwards and presenting older works to give people kind of a historical context and storylines and a foundation of where I've been and where things are, as far as like a evolution of the work. And so this piece again is in bronze. I did the wax for it and delivered it to the foundry. And long story short, had a pretty catastrophic issue with the foundry. I gave them specific directions and they didn't follow them, which meant I had to bring the piece home and cut the Swamp Queen's torso in half, and then spend the next 9 or 10 hours with my silicon bronze MIG welder and a rosebud torch and various other tools to lift her torso a quarter of an inch because they had cut it and cast it separate and then welded it back on. And I knew as soon as I saw it, because I created it, that her torso was a quarter of an inch shorter than it originally was. And this was a really big deal. And heating bronze can fragment and collapse when you heat it, um, much more so than say steel. So it was a labor of love, um, pure unconditional love to get this thing right. But I got it right because that's just the stubborn kind of guy I am, dog with a bone. So with no further delays, here is Adorable the Swamp Fairy Queen Steed. And Adorable is the name of the toad that she is on. So here she is, both of them. Now, one thing to keep in mind is ultimately, let's see. Sorry, I had to do some technical things here. So this piece, again, was a big breakaway from doing singular figures Uh, some of the figures that I did, they have certain contexts, like other elements with them, little baskets. Of course, the mushroom vendor having a mushroom. Um, but this piece was more environmental. And so the toad is standing on a turtle shell. And underneath the turtle shell, there's a village, a fairy village, and on top of the turtle shell as well. Um, this piece, from this piece onwards, the direction changed quite a bit as far as going into more narrative language with the sculpture. But ultimately, again, I don't do any kind of sketching or uh, interpretations from books or other sculptures. I just simply start sculpting and things happen. Um, like, for instance, with her face, you'll see if you look on either left or right of her face, there's a mask that's split in half, and her face is emerging from that mask. Um, and that was an original face that I didn't like. And instead of just getting rid of it, I cut the head in half and then folded it open, kind of like a flower opening, and then built the new face from that, peeling back. And then on top of, between the horns, on the very top of her head, there's a skull. Um, you can see it just barely when it comes back around here, the rear view. There's a skull up there. So that is a kind of part of her crown in the sense that she's a swamp queen, and swamps are about bones and decay and lotuses as well. Uh, it's sort of a paradox that swamps are blossoming wetlands built on decay in in that way. So let's see. I'm going to read you a little bit and give you some story. So you can see underneath the toad's chin, there's a little shoe. And I also wrote officially completed today, May 2nd. That's interesting because it's May 1st, 2014. Dimensions 15 and a half inches tall, 12 inches deep, 10 inches wide. Now, this sculpture, because it's in bronze and there was a lost wax process, is about 10 or 13% smaller than the original. Had I cast this in pewter, it would be the exact same scale of the original. So these are some things I've written. I may not read the whole thing, but we'll see how the vibe goes. That's a shoe around the steed's neck. It was a gift from a gnome, a one-off from his shop at Adorable. Okay, let me go back here a little bit. It's late and I'm stumbling a little. It was a gift from a gnome, a one-off from his shop that Adorable took a liking to. It's magical, of course. When put down, it will walk back to the gnome village, leading the way no matter where Adorable is. There in front is a 4 cliff fairy houses and the top of a chimney sticking through the turtle shell. The cliff fairies use it serendipitously to smoke foodstuffs. So you'll see there's some round spheres in amongst the mushrooms. So those are Adorable's eggs that she just laid. And There's a U-shaped, there's a few fairy implements like artifacts down below. You'll see there's like a mace next to that eye that's to the left, and an overturned flower pot with some roots and things growing out of it, vines right underneath the turtle shell down below there. Various fairy houses. Um, to the left can be seen parts of the Cliff Fairies settlement. A tall building in front is a kind of storage silo and residence, hence the chimney. The building to the left has a funnel shaped roof, catches rainwater, and stores it in an underground chamber. You can see waves lapping the shore in the middle and to the left. So, see that alligator head there in the back to the left? That is from a previous sculpture, its headdress. So sometimes I'll take a piece, an artifact from a previous sculpture, and put it in another sculpture. So as it's turning here, you'll see right about now in the middle of the screen down below, there's waves and there's like a tree trunk, and there's like a little fairy house with steps going up to it. Underneath that tree stump is boats, and they've docked into like little caves that are underneath the stump, and that's like a port. The Swamp Fairy Queen holds Adorable's harness, her tendril legs, four to each side of her, are twining around mushrooms. Her magic, self brewing tea kettle can be seen hanging to the right. Now that's on the very back. So it's kind of like a saddle with a lot of items. They've just gotten back from a journey, and she's collected a sacred book, a ceremonial dagger, and of course they take things with them as well, like the tea kettle. And let's see. On the stirrup is a serpent emblem and a happy face with its tongue sticking out, both royal insignias of the Swamp Fairy Queen specifically, including the serpent head on the saddle strap going all the way around Adorable's body. You can see the strap there going in behind the front legs there. The head sticking up on the far top right side via the saddle is an artifact the queen found on her rounds in South America. If you look closely, you can make out a severed bird head stuck in between some mushrooms, an ingredient she'll sell in the market or trade that she also found discarded in the land of the trolls. So they go on excursions, and right in the very back, right to the left at the very top, behind her sacrum, you can see like a little serpent's head that's part of the saddle. And so there's some somewhat kind of Mayan Aztec things every once in a while pop up in reference. Not that I was thinking it at the time, but sometimes it's unavoidable to when you're sculpting in totemic, kind of a totemic language. There's bound to be some cross pollination going on from time to time, and detail of the found discarded troll left over bird head near center to and slightly to the right. Okay, some of this is a little peculiar. This what I've written here. Um, the mushrooms are living beings along for the ride and to keep the Swamp Queen company on long expeditions. She also plants them, among other duties, fostering the birth of new swamps throughout fairy worlds. Adorable's hind feet rest on square pads atop large double vertebra, surrounded by her newly laid eggs and more mushrooms. The long skull at the bottom, belonging to a prehistoric time via the fairy world, was once the headdress of the Keeper of Eternity, which is a previous sculpture of the original family, discarded for a new gift presented to her by a master craftsman and admirer. Most fairies do not sell or store items away, they simply put them down in the forest or meadows for others to find or not. Details of Adorable's back saddle stash belonging to her devoted rider. Both Toad and Fairy Queen are equals. The magic teapot and storage jar to the left. The Swamp Fairy's magic book to the far right, and another severed bird head to the book's left end. The skull in the center is another emblem, the Swamp Fairy's homeland insignia totem, elaborately integrated and laced with Adorable's royal saddle, and of course, Adorable's beautiful bumps. So, lots of bumps or warts. Um, take your pick. Bottom, middle, and behind the dwarf sprite war mace, an Egyptian eye amulet, is a living earthworm slinking about, doing its duty to the queen in her swamp. There's a magical book on the back of the saddle. You can probably see it. It's coming back around here. It's on the right there, on the right, about halfway up. You can see a square with a strap around it. That is a magically bound book with a special knotted rope. The Royal Turquoise Book of Cosmic Swamp Magic. All the Swamp Fairy needs to maintain and create new swamps throughout all known and unknown fairy worlds. Her three insignias, the serpent on the stirrup, the smiley face, and the serpent head on the saddle strap, can be seen here. More cliff fairy settlements, stairs leading up from ground zero. There to the bottom right, which is coming back around, let's see. There to the bottom right is an ancient device that the mushrooms use in conjunction with the cliff fairies to remove soil from their terminations. It rests atop an old, very magical tree stump which houses three boats in its roots as well, just on the shore side. Middle left are two more ancient fairy artifacts discarded amongst the swamp. An Egyptian eye amulet, which is right there in the middle at the very bottom. A dwarf sprite war mace, which is behind the eye. You can see the head of it, along with an ever smoking pipe, which is kind of tucked in behind there. It's just going into the shadows now. An ever smoking pipe, an immortal device belonging to the riverbank fairies, left as an offering to any who wishes it so. To the right of the book is the swamp fairy's magical dagger tucked in a jeweled alligator head, its handle made from a bird head, inlaid with jewels, magical charms, etc. She carries no weapons of defense, for she has no enemies. Adorable was named by the swamp sprites, specifically by the keepers of frog and toad eggs, who whisper the name of each unborn upon its egg's exit. Mushrooms love the Swamp Fairy Queen. They magnetically bond to her wherever she goes, each cleaning their terminations before doing so, though via the special device at ground zero. And you can see the device that's coming around again. So, right in the middle bottom, right now, it's sort of a pyramidal shaped because it's on the tree stump. But you can see the stairs going up to it. And inside that is like a spiral corkscrew shape. And this is where the mushrooms, which are in this story alluded to being sentient beings, they go there to clean their roots, and then they bond with the Swamp Queen. She does not walk; she hovers. So she's more of, she belongs to the fairy genome for sure, but that genome has classifications and uh, subgenomes, let's say. I use that phrase very loosely. Um, so her legs are not legs, they're tendrils. She has 8 of them, similar to like an octopus, but not, no suction cups or anything like that. Mainly simply tendrils. And again, she hovers, and she's a very fast swimmer. So on this device, the corkscrew type construction atop the great tree stump on the shore, there are many such devices throughout the fairy worlds, each an original but always performing the same duty. The Swamp Fairy Queen emerges from her headdress, a mask depicting a final birth, like a butterfly from its cocoon. The skull atop her headdress signifies her realm identity, the fairy swamplands, to the sky fairies and all celestial onlookers. It's her golden crown jewel and additionally a living organism, helping her navigate the unknown and ever changing fairy worlds and the cosmic spaces in between. It is also connected to the highest forms of swamp magic and to the sacred house of the Diamond Swamp Fairy Lord. So there's a relationship, not necessarily a romantic one, but she's connected to other fairy sentient beings and offices, um, lineages, ancestries. And so this skull is also alive. It's a it's a sentient being of sorts. To the left is the machine device that cleans the mushroom's terminations. A magical flower pot encircled by fairy runes on its rim, holding creeping vines, and just above on the ledge under the turtle shell is more cliff fairy homes. So one thing I know I wrote, but it's not in this particular description, is that the Swamp Fairy Queen and the Adorable are ultimately, they there's no master and servant relationship here or any kind of contract. They meet maybe once a year or once every 4 to 6 months and go on excursions together. They're friends. So that means that the only thing that the toad is normally carrying with it is the necklace with the gnome shoe on it. That's it. The toad is under no obligation whatsoever to be her steed. They just simply have a personal agreement to meet when it's convenient for both of them and go on adventures together. I've been pretty happy with the quality that the camera's picking up. It seems to be about 90 to 95%. Um, I'm going to play around with the ISO and various f-stops and lighting and things, but for now, for archival purposes and presenting the work to a broader audience, I'm quite happy with how things are progressing. And this video might be a little bit dark, but it's tricky with sculpture, particularly bronze that has a patina such as this. Is if you go too light, you don't get contrast, so you don't really see the depth of the three-dimensional aspect of the sculpture. So it gets a little more two-dimensional. Um, so the for me, going a little bit darker um, is okay ultimately, because you get to see more of what the sculpture is about in the sense of being an object in the third dimension versus an illustration or a painting or something. So shadows is what it's about in many ways. Um, Even the shadow that a sculpture casts, the silhouette, can say a lot about the integrity of the sculpture itself. Um, the mood of it, the inner content. So that's adorable. The Swamp Fairy Queen's Steed. I'll switch back over here just a second. Okay. Thank you for watching, and like and subscribe. Please spread the word, share the channel. I appreciate your time and enduring my late night, 1 o'clock in the morning reading of something I have not read in probably a decade and a half. And that's it for tonight. Thank you.